what is the point of Naruto? And I don't mean as a form of entertainment or to make me cry over fictional ninja children as a full-grown adult. I mean, what was Kishimoto's message at the very heart of the series? Obviously, there are a lot of different themes and morals spread throughout the manga and anime, and the first that comes to mind is from the Land of Waves arc, where we see Zabuza learn that ninja are more than just tools to be used. Even as soldiers, they cannot truly become as heartless as they may appear on the surface. He accepts that he loved Haku like a surrogate son just as soon as he lost him. Later, Gaara learns in his fight with Naruto that love outshines hatred, and much later, Madara and Hashirama explore the complexities of moral sacrifice in the midst of protecting the greater good of their village. There are so many smaller themes across the 700 chapters of this series that on their own are both entertaining and worth philosophical exploration. But what is the point? What is the main message, the central thesis of Naruto? It's very easy to get lost in the plot, the lives and choices of these characters you fall in love with, not to mention the titanic, earth-shaping battles between them at the series' end. I remember the first time I watched the final battle between Naruto and Sasuke, I was blown away, but I was also left a little confused. Usually this series makes the moral of the day painfully exceedingly obvious. It's a battle shonen written for teenage boys after all. But for some reason, this final encounter relied far more on visual storytelling than the usual, showing us Sasuke's thought process as opposed to having the characters talk it out directly. And because of this, it's easy to come away thinking that the theme is something akin to having friends is good and being alone is sad. More seriously, we watch through the animation as Sasuke comes to the realization that he cannot take all the pain and hatred of the world onto himself, because as long as there are people who love him, they will be suffering too. This is what Naruto says: when you hurt, I hurt too. And this is what finally brings an end to this epic saga of rivals, friends, brothers. But is it the theme of Naruto? Surprisingly, no. It's the lesson that Sasuke needed to learn, but it's not the point of the whole series. The point of the series is a lesson that Naruto embodies, a mentality and philosophy that, if he didn't act on, would never have allowed Sasuke to learn this final lesson. That's how good stories are written, you know. The agency of the protagonist allows him to resolve the plot, but only because of the lesson he learns, only because of the change he experiences. So what was Naruto's lesson? What did he learn, and how did he change? We know that going into the Fourth Great Ninja War, Naruto was still reeling from his battle with Pain. He was only able to convince Pain to surrender and revive all the lost souls of the Hidden Leaf by convincing him that Jiraiya was right. Naruto convinced Pain that somehow he would find a way to end the cycle of hatred that had plagued the ninja world for centuries. This is his great question, the lesson he needs to learn. But to a casual viewer of the series, maybe someone who just watches for the cool fights, could you point out what that lesson is? Or better yet, where he learns it? The Fourth War is long. It takes up like a third of the whole manga. So there's plenty of different points in time where this lesson could take place. Was it facing down the reanimated Raikage, battling the tailed beast, his fight with Obito, Madara, maybe Kaguya? No. None of these. Here's the secret. Naruto doesn't learn this lesson during the Fourth Great War. The truth is, he's known it this whole time. He learned it quite a while ago. Yes, all the way back in Chapter 1. Chapter 1 of the Naruto manga opens up with an explanation of the night the Nine Tails attacked Konoha. It introduces us to Naruto, the orphan who had the Nine Tails sealed inside of him, and explains that because of this, he is shunned by the villagers around him. His life is a lonely one, all because of the sins of a beast he knows nothing about. Chapter 1 also introduces us to Iruka, Naruto's teacher at the Ninja Academy, and interestingly, another orphan whose parents were murdered by the Nine Tails. Instantly, we have a great setup. His teacher has every reason to hate Naruto, to despise him for the actions of the Nine Tails. It's not like anyone would blame him. Everyone else in the village avoids the boy on principle, but not Iruka. No, Iruka does his best to look past Naruto's history. He tries to teach the unruly boy, no matter how difficult Naruto makes things for him. And when his unruly student steals a sacred scroll containing forbidden jutsu right from under the nose of the third Hokage, and Iruka is confronted with just how dangerous this kid truly is, he doesn't falter. Instead, he risks his life to save Naruto, taking an enormous shuriken to the back in order to keep his student safe. Naruto may be the demon fox that murdered his parents, but he's also an orphan, and Iruka knows how lonely and terrifying that life can be. And seeing his teacher, the man who had every reason to hate him, choose to try and understand him for the very first time, this gave Naruto the courage and resolve he needed to finally master a jutsu and defeat his first villain. Iruka is not a powerful ninja. He's not from a special bloodline, he doesn't have magic eyes or a tailed beast, he isn't a genius of hard work. But he is the man that Naruto chooses to stand in his father's place at his wedding. I remember being a little taken aback at this decision. I had assumed he would ask Kakashi, perhaps have some sort of stand-in for Jiraiya, but Iruka, who hadn't been relevant to the story in hundreds of chapters, threw me for a loop on my first watch. But upon reflection, I couldn't think of a single better person to stand in that place. Even if Jiraiya were still around, it had to be Iruka. And that's because Iruka was the man who taught Naruto his most important lesson. The lesson that he carried with him through all of his perilous adventure. The lesson that, as he acted it out, made more and more clear to him that it was the secret to finally ending the cycle of hatred that plagued the ninja world. Iruka taught Naruto, all the way back in chapter 1, that if we really try, we can understand one another. If we strive to understand those we hate, before long, we will learn to forgive and even, maybe, change them for the better. Iruka passed on this lesson, like the will of fire, to the next generation. And after putting it to practice, Naruto did come to understand his enemies. Gaara, Pain, Kurama, Obito, even Sasuke. All of their hearts softened when facing up against Naruto's unwavering will, his dedication to understanding and forgiveness. Consider for a moment the 2 times Naruto fought Sasuke. The first time he was enraged, screaming about how he would drag Sasuke back to the leaf, even if it meant breaking every single bone in his body. But by their second battle, these high-level ninja practicing ninshu, seeing into each other's hearts, Naruto was able to understand Sasuke's pain, relate to it, and extend him a hand when he needed it most. He wasn't focused on Sasuke's sins or his hatred. Instead, he could relate to Sasuke's desire to take on all the hurt of the world, as he had tried to do himself not long before, in the face of B's apparent death. Naruto only convinced Sasuke to change once he fully understood him. Now, as a short tangent, the reason I was inspired to pen this script in the first place was the rather pervasive idea that the story of Naruto is all about his identity as an underdog, and how he overcomes that idea in the eyes of his peers. As he gets stronger, he earns their respect. And then, of course, there's the complaint that because Naruto is the son of the 4th Hokage, student of the 6th, Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, and reincarnation of Asura, all of these things ruin his identity as an underdog and therefore undermine the theme of the series. This is wrong. It's just wrong. It's never been true. First of all, being an underdog is not a theme. It's not a lesson. It is a state of being. Perhaps the theme would be not to underestimate others, but that wouldn't be something for our protagonist to learn. Seeing him learn and grow and eventually earn the respect of the Leaf is fantastic and emotionally resonant, but it's not the moral of the story. The reason Naruto is hated by everyone at the beginning isn't so he can prove them all wrong, but so that he can showcase the real lesson of the story. By working to understand those around us, you can forge new bonds with them. He defeated Pain not by growing stronger. Sage Mode wasn't enough to finish him off. Instead, Naruto won the day by understanding him, and only then is he celebrated by his village. Those who throw around the idea that Naruto's status as an underdog is somehow integral to the quality of the story are lacking in both reading comprehension and literary analysis skills. The truth is, Naruto was never an underdog. Even in chapter 1, by the end, he created 1,000 shadow clones in order to protect Iruka. The very first pages explain that he has the power of an enormous monster sealed inside of him. Naruto is not, and never was, an underdog. If he were, the series would have ended as soon as he achieved the respect of his village. But obviously, there was more story still to tell. Naruto is not a poster boy for underdogs. He's the herald of a message of understanding and forgiveness. The point of Naruto is that if we truly try, we can come to understand one another. Now, I know for a lot of people, this doesn't click exactly, and they come to criticize his Talk-No-Jutsu, where Naruto merely speaks to a villain and convinces them to change for the better. But this is the point of the series. If Iruka, understanding the fear and hurt of his scared student, could change him into the hero of the leaf, then of course, that hero's understanding could shatter the barriers of the hurt and lonely monsters of the world. That's the lesson. It's a real one, and it's a good one. We should try to be more understanding of others in real life. Those who've hurt us, those we disagree with, who we're ideologically opposed to, whatever. If we try, we might just break through their barriers and change them for the better. Hell, we might just change for the better too.